welcome back, everyone, for another episode of the CBSI Hot 10 show. Make sure you go over to comicbookinvest.com and check out the article where I may put a few extra notes and details that I don't cover here on the show tonight. And make sure you check out all the content we have here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And while you're at it, please join me tomorrow night for my Whatnot sale. I know it's a bit of a surprise even for me. I wasn't planning on doing one, but I got a hold of some of these Daredevil packs, and I'm going to go put them up for auction, $1 a piece, along with a bunch of other variants and key books that I'm just looking to kind of clear out here. So come join me over on Whatnot tomorrow at 9 p.m. So Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when I plan to run it. I would have done it sooner if I could, but like I said, it's a little bit of a last-minute thing, but I'm sure we'll still have some fun talking about some comics and going through some books. So, again, make sure you follow, sign up, and when you sign up, if you haven't tried Whatnot before, you get a free $15 on me to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. You don't even have to spend with me. You can spend it with somebody else. You still get 15 bucks off your first purchase by using my link down below to sign up for Whatnot. Now, again, hopefully you join me tomorrow night, but we're not worried about that right now. We're talking about tonight, and tonight I do have a new list for you. And if you want to see it, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back.
Notable sales.
And our first notable sale is a big one. Nightwing #1. Yes, this is a DC Universe variant. You see the UPC down there with the DC Universe logo. There is a whole subculture of collectors buying these things these days, and one of these sold for a big number. If you're curious about these DC variants, please go check out the videos over on my buddy Bruce's channel, Kingdom of Nerds. The links are also down below. There is also a playlist down below if you're over on my main channel, so you can check out his On the Hunt series where he talks a lot and all about these DC Universe variants. So please go check him out. But if you want to know what this book sold for, well, it sold for an all-time high. Only sale, only copy in the census, $2,500 this week. Yes, $2,500. Granted, there's only a handful of copies at all in the census for this particular book, Win the DCU variant version, but 198 sold for $2,500 this week. That's a big sale and a big number. And yes, it's obviously an all-time high since it's the only one, but it's still such a big number. I thought it was notable for us to talk about. Now, like I said, go check out Bruce's channel for more on the DCU variants. But if you want to see my other notable sale for the week, it is another interesting one and quite a shocking sale to me. It's a character we haven't talked about in a while. It's been a while even since we talked Star Wars. But this week, Star Wars Jedi Mace Windu, the one-shot. This is the first comic appearance of Asajj Ventress, and we hope to see her soon again over in the Disney Plus type stuff that they're releasing with the animated shows, and we've got upcoming series and whatnot. A lot more coming your way with Star Wars, and it's fun to see Star Wars back here on the list, even if this is just a notable. But wait till a little bit later in the show, maybe we have a bit more. But this particular book here in 9.8 sold. This is a newsstand version of this book, which also makes it a little bit more difficult to find. You can tell by the barcode down below. It says Star Wars Universe above the barcode as opposed to direct edition. So this newsstand edition of this book sold for a huge all-time high of $3,000. Yes, $3,000. Not a lot graded with the newsstand logo, or at least subdivided into the newsstand logo. So yes, it is an all-time high that we are aware of. Who knows how many more could be out there, but right now this is the only one I could see that was in the census. And it is a big number for a tough to find book, and definitely something that's notable. Now, that leaves us in for our Hot 10. And if you want to see this list, don't worry, I got you covered. But first, speaking of 10, get yourself 10% off over at BCW if you guys need any of your supplies, your bags, your boards, long boxes, short boxes, CGC boxes, top loaders, pages for cards, anything you need to keep your comics or collectibles safe. BCW probably has a product for you, and you can save 10% off your whole order by using my code RENNA10. There is a link down below, but definitely use that code to save yourself 10% off your entire order. Now, with that said, that leaves us with the list. So let's not waste any more time and get to our first book.
Number 10.
And our first book is a G.I. Joe. This is one of those silent edition foil 1 in 25s, this time featuring Roadblock. The last time we saw one of these on the main list was the Jinx, which is the second in this series of 5 one-shots that they're doing for these silent editions, kind of to celebrate the G.I. Joe number 21 silent edition book. Remember, first appearance of Storm Shadow, big Snake Eyes issue, but they've done or are doing 5 individual solo one-shots. We've gotten 4 released so far, and this is the second one to make the list. Last week's book with Spirit was on the outside looking in, as there was only like a couple of sales, but this one makes the list here because we did have 10 sold, and it's averaging $50 with a high of 100. This is closer in line to what the Jinx book did rather than what Spirit did, and then Beachhead before all of them. But there's still one more to go. We'll see how that one goes. It's going to be a tough set to put together. There will be 5 covers. G.I.J.O.E. G.I. Joe foil covers will connect when all is said and done. There are even some pre-sales for the entire set being listed for some big numbers. We'll see how that goes. But for now, this book on its own, doing well, as you can see. Granted, on the lower end of the volume, but that's why it's on the lower end of the list. But it is a standout for an incentive variant book this week. So one to definitely keep an eye on in the days and weeks ahead. So with that said, that is our number 10 book and the book kicking us off. Let's check out our next one now.
Number 9.
Another new incentive variant making the list this week. This is another 1 in 25. This is Eddie Brock Carnage, number 3, the 1 in 25 by Mike Mayhew. And yes, this is my favorite variant of the week. If you watch TAC, I ran down my favorite covers of the week. If you checked out my shorts, you saw it there as well. And I also mentioned it on the Wednesday watch list. It's just a really cool cover. I get it while people are going after this one. It is very detailed. It's the texture in just how it is illustrated. It looks like all the sinew and everything going. It almost is like you can touch it and feel it. It's fantastic looking. That said, lower end of volume, but still a dozen sold, which isn't too bad for a new incentive variant, but it's averaging a big $70, well above ratio, because this is a 1 in 25. So averaging $70 with a high of 85. I don't think any copy sold for less than $50 this week, which is also impressive for a brand new incentive variant and something we don't normally see, which is why this earned itself a spot here again at the bottom of the list, mostly due to the fact that the volumes are still pretty low on it. But at the same time, there are not a lot of copies out there. So with that said, this is our number 9 book. Fantastic cover. Like I said, I like it. I don't have one on the way. Probably personally not paying these prices, but I do like the look of this book and kind of wish I did get one. But what can you do? We can't get everything, can we? But with that said, let's keep the list rolling and see what we got next at number 8.
Number 8.
So, I didn't really get a chance to cover Superman Day, which was actually last Friday. So, we have the Summer of Superman starting off over at DC. We've got the Summer of Superman special, which was the number 1 book last week. We've got the Superman movie coming later in the summer. I believe it's sometime in July. And we had a bunch of Superman books released for free on Superman Day, along with other versions as well. We had some facsimiles and some foils and some special releases, all for Superman Day, which was last Friday, April 18th. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to cover it, but there was really no good window to do so. But one of the standouts of that release of Superman books was this Action Comics facsimile, this gorgeous homage by Dan Mora. It's just great. I like the look of it. It is a virgin version of that classic Action 1. It is just well drawn, well done. Dan Mora doesn't get enough of our praise, I don't think. Definitely underrated. Been killing it over at DC for a while now. And this is just a good cover. It's a good cover, which is why I'm not surprised to see people buying it. Granted, we're talking about a couple dozen sales since last Friday. It's averaging $20. This did have an $11 buy-in, or at least that was the starting price MSRP that I saw listed for this oversized kind of facsimile, because it is, a little bit on the bigger side. But averaging $20 is still at a premium with a high of $30, couple dozen sales, which is why it finds itself here at number 8. Now, with that said, let's keep the list going and check out lucky number 7.
Number 7.
I mentioned Star Wars as we had Star Wars Celebration this past weekend, and a lot of news and announcement rolling out of that has triggered some more interest back in the market. And one of those announcements was a Darth Maul series coming our way. So, the first comic book appearance of Darth Maul here in Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace issue 3 of 4 is starting to see some interest. Granted, the trade paperback, which collected all four issues, was actually released before the miniseries release. So that is technically the first appearance, but it is a trade paperback. Some people like to differentiate between the two, between a floppy and the trade. So even though the trade came first, this is a book that a lot of people are turning towards. Two covers on this. There's a photo cover as well, but this is the cover art version by Hugh Fleming. Definitely one of the favorites, but the photo is also pretty good. Both selling pretty well this week with about a couple dozen sales, averaging about $26 this week, which is up 400% from what it was selling for last week, which was only like $5 or $6. Again, a cheap book you've been able to find for a while, but a lot of interest this week with a high of $44. And yes, it was for this particular cover, not the photo cover, which is also has the newsstand. The newsstand version is on the photo cover, and that one sold in a 9.8 at a high of 265 for this week. And that one is this photo cover I'm talking about here. And once again, you can see on the barcode, it says Star Wars Presents. So that is how you can differentiate the newsstand version from the regular. It has that extra little Star Wars Presents Star Wars note there on the barcode. Now, book been around for a while. Darth Maul gaining a lot of interest. This is not the only Star Wars book this week, but it is our only book for now. So with that said, let's keep the list rolling and get on to the next one.
Number 6.
I spoke too soon. We have another Star Wars book on the list, and this is Star Wars Legacy number 0, featuring a beautiful cover with Darth Talon. Why is this here? Well, we saw a Twi'lek who is supposedly going to be Darth Maul's apprentice that a lot of people are speculating is Darth Talon. Granted, if you read any of this material before, the timelines are nowhere even close. Chances of it actually being Darth Talon are probably pretty slim, but who knows? They've played with timelines and things like that before when they've been adapting things to the current Star Wars universe. So, hey, who knows? I guess there's an outside chance that that's who this could be. I don't think so personally, but I'm not an insider. I don't know for certain. I just, like I said, know that things don't exactly align for Darth Talon to be Maul's apprentice. But stranger things have happened, haven't they? Regardless, people see a Twi'lek. They know she's going to be trained as a Sith apprentice. They automatically assume the only Twi'lek Sith that we can think of, Darth Talon, must be who it is. So people go and start buying books. Right or wrong, that's how the market works a lot of the time. And this book is a book that's been on the list before. It's a great cover. It is only a 25-cent book. This is a 0 issue. It was a preview edition almost. And she's not even in this story. It's just the cover. But still a lot of interest here. Covered by Jan Drusema. This book has gone for 40 plus copies sold this week at a 95% increase from last week. Averaging $15 for a 25-cent cover book, a book you get used to be able to find in dollar bins all the time. That's up 36% from the normal average. High of 30 this week. CGC 9.8, still 110. Definitely a book to keep an eye on. Also be aware that there is a 0.5 edition, which came later. Different cover, also featuring Talon, different book. It's not the same as this one, but that can get easily confused. It's got like a gray cover. Just be mindful when you're out there digging and shopping of which book you're looking at. So with that said, this is our number 6 book. So that'll leave us to the top half of the list coming up next.
Number 5.
There she is, Supergirl. Oh, this was our top book last week. She's fallen down a few spots here to number 5. This is that Summer of Superman special that I mentioned earlier. This is the Alexander Lozano cover. Gorgeous cover, Disney princess style. I dig it. A lot of people like it. It's still selling very, very well. In fact, volumes are even up from where it was last week. Granted, only up slightly at 6%, but still over 180 copies sold for this particular cover, averaging $25 now where it was 18. So that 40% increase is another notable mark, but that high mark is down 12% as the high ones are only selling for 35. This is definitely coming down a bit in price on that average. The overall average is up because last week we had the cover price versions mixed in. Now this has consistently been about a $25 book. but you'll see why it's dropped this far once we see the comparisons of the other books on the list. But still selling very well, still something to keep in mind and keep an eye on. But this is coming in at number 5, despite the fact that volumes and prices are up, which is a surprise and something we don't normally see here. But we have a reason, and there's a reason for everything, and we'll see what that reason is once we get to our next book here.
Number 4.
It's because we've seen more impressive jumps in both price and averages and volumes in some other books this week. And this is another book that was on the list last week that is returning and jumping up a couple of spots. This was number 6 last week. It's now moved up to number 4, that Earth X number 12, Alex Ross cover featuring Shia LaBeouf as Silver Surfer. Folks getting more and more psyched for the Fantastic Four movie and more MCU to come. This one, again, jumps past the last book because it also had a bunch of sales here, 40 plus sales, but an increase of 133% from last week, with averages now up to $43, which is an increase of 23%. Highs reaching $80 on this bad boy, and a CGC 9.8 sold for $350. So just some interesting jumps here in both prices and volumes, earning it that number 4 spot and jumping up a couple of spots and leapfrogging our number 1 book from last week. This is that Earth X Shia LaBeouf book. Will this maintain throughout the summer? I'm not certain. Definitely a book to keep an eye on, though, going forward. And we still got 3 books left, so let's see what they are.
Number 3.
I'm sorry, we have another repeat and another repeat in that same spot. But these are the books that are selling this week. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. These are outpacing a lot of other things that are on the market. So we can argue about, why these are in these spots, but I still think they earn their spots here, as Sister Imperator number 2 is here again at number 3. Why did it remain, and why is it above the others? Well, it's got a huge jump in volume this week, with 110 copies sold, up 120% from last week. Averages are also up to $25, which are also up 40%. Kind of the same jump that Superman book had, but as you can see here, volumes jumped way more than that one did, as a 6% jump in copies sold to 100%, 120% jump is why this one kind of outpaced our Supergirl book. High still around 50 for this one. Issue 1 is also selling well, but it was basically a match-for-match consistent as far as average price goes and volumes go. Almost made a spot at the bottom of the list because of that, but was edged out by some of those newer books kind of standing out with those incentives, selling for more than one might expect. But Sister Imperator number 2 still dominating here on the market. People are still interested in it. It's, again, not for me personally, but I understand a lot of fans out there for the band Ghost are interested in this series and this comic book. So we'll see how this one keeps doing as time rolls on. We saw number 1 hit before and then drop off, and now it's been bouncing back a bit. We'll see if number 2 can just stay where it is, or if this one will also take a dip in the future. Time will tell, but we still got 2 books left. Let's see what they are.
Number 2.
Number 2 is a new book this week, and it is another Star Wars book still centered around Darth Talon. This would be her first in-storyline appearance inside the book. So issue 2 of Star Wars Legacy. This is an Adam Hughes cover. You guys know I'm a big fan. I'm biased towards Adam Hughes, but that's not why it's here. It's here because this one is also selling well at increased volumes, with over 50 copies sold this week, showing an increase of 233% from last week's sales. Average is also up to $22, up 83% from last week, and a CGC 9.8 newsstand of this book sold for a solid $200. So once again, a lot of people banking on it being Darth Talon in this Darth Maul series. I still don't think that's the case, but these are the books that are moving on the market. So right or wrong, people are buying this book because this is what they think, and we'll see if they're right. Time will tell. As I said, time will tell. But we still have 1 book left to go through, and let's take a second and see what it is.
And our number 1.
And claiming the top spot this week, another repeat. I know you guys hate seeing repeats, but this one climbs from number 2 up to number 1. This is that Wolverine Daniel Warren Johnson cover that I'm a big fan of. I dig it. I like it. But why? did it end up on top? Well, volumes and prices, just like everything else. Over 200 sold this week, which is a 100% increase from last week. So twice as many copies sold this week than when it found itself at number 2. Average is also up to $35, which is a jump of 75% from last week, where it was also in that $18 kind of range. But this one has been holding better as far as prices go than the Supergirl book. High still about 50, but those averages and that volume earns itself this top spot this week, which is why it went from 2 to number 1. We'll see how this goes going forward. I know there are reports of some damages on some of these books. This cover will be reissued on the second print as a 1 in 25 incentive in a virgin format. We'll see how that affects the price on this, but definitely a cover that a lot of folks like, not just me, and are willing to spend a bit of extra money on it. So with that said, even with that $8 cover price, this thing's averaging a solid $35 these days. So we'll see how it goes in the weeks ahead. But that is our list for today. As I mentioned before, make sure you come back tomorrow and join me over on Whatnot, as I will have some of those Daredevil packs. But before we get to that, make sure you just stay here for when this show is over. The Qualified will be starting up next. The boys are going to be talking about Superman and crypto and all things crypto. Will crypto be that breakout character of the summer? It's possible. People do like their puppies. And with that, they have all kinds of fun segments for you. They got some games to play. The outside looking in list that will show some of the books that I think you should also be keeping an eye on that may either just miss the list this week or things that could pop in the next few days. Who knows? But check out the OLI. Check out the boys on the Qualified starting up as soon as this is done. And with that, I'll see you all later with some content. All right.